Leo, pause for a moment. If you've recently felt someone drifting away from you, someone who once felt deeply connected to your life, this message is not random. There is a reason things no longer feel the same. There is a reason conversations feel heavier. There is a reason your heart senses a separation before your mind can explain it. This is not coincidence. This is not bad luck. And this is not punishment. God is actively removing someone from your life, and the reason is far more powerful than you realize right now. If you're watching this video, it means this separation is already in motion, and although it may feel confusing or even painful, it is happening with precision, intention, and divine timing. You are not losing someone by accident. You are being prepared for something that cannot arrive while this person remains. Right now, unseen forces are creating space in your life space for alignment, truth, and a future that matches who you are becoming. And soon, very soon, you will understand why this had to happen. Stay with me until the end of this message, because when the reason behind this separation reveals itself, it will change the way you see this relationship and yourself forever. Part 1. The separation is not random. Leo, when God begins to take someone out of your life, it rarely happens all at once. Before the physical separation appears, something far subtler shifts first. The energy between you and that person changes. You may notice it in small ways. Conversations that once felt natural now feel heavy. Silences last longer than they used to. You sense distance even when nothing obvious has happened. This is not because love suddenly disappeared. It is because alignment quietly ended. God does not remove people abruptly. He allows awareness to rise slowly so your soul can recognize what your heart has been trying to ignore. And Leo, this is where your nature becomes important. You are loyal to the core. When you commit with your whole being. You don't give up easily because you believe deeply in connection, potential, and shared history. But here is the truth that changes everything. Loyalty without alignment becomes self-betrayal. You keep showing up, you keep understanding, you keep extending grace. And over time, you begin to adjust yourself just to keep the relationship alive. God sees this. He sees when your light becomes quieter. He sees when your truth becomes smaller. He sees when your growth slows so someone else can feel comfortable. This is why the separation is happening now. Not because you failed, not because you loved incorrectly, but because the version of you that is emerging cannot continue to shrink to preserve an old bond. This person may not be harmful. They may not even be aware of what is happening. But they no longer fit the direction your life is moving. And direction matters more than attachment. Sometimes God removes someone not because they are bad for you, but because staying would cost you the future version of yourself. That inner discomfort you feel is not confusion. It is recognition. Your spirit has already understood what your emotions are still processing. Life lesson, part 1. Not every relationship ends because of conflict. Some end because you outgrow the role you were playing inside them. Growth requires honesty, and honesty sometimes requires separation. If you are fighting to keep something that no longer flows naturally, ask yourself this. Are you protecting the connection or protecting the past? Because God never removes what truly belongs on your path. He only removes what is occupying space meant for something greater. Comment if this message resonates with you. Acknowledging the truth is the first step toward inner peace. And in the next part, you will understand what this separation is making room for and why what's coming cannot arrive until this space is cleared. Stay with me. Part 2. What this separation is making room for. Leo, once God begins removing someone from your life, it's not because he wants to leave you with emptiness. It is because he is creating space. Nothing new can enter a life that is already full of what no longer belongs. Think about this carefully. If your hands are tightly holding on to something that has already served its purpose, how can you receive what is meant for you next? This separation is not about loss. It is about preparation. The person being taken away occupied more than emotional space. They occupied mental focus, energy, time, and attention. And as long as that space remained filled, what was truly aligned with your future could not fully approach you. God understands timing better than we ever could. He knows that certain doors only open when others are closed completely, not halfway, not emotionally reopened, but truly released. That is why this feels uncomfortable, because creation always begins with clearing. Leo, your life is entering a phase where authenticity matters more than familiarity. You are being prepared for relationships that do not require you to explain yourself, dilute yourself, or prove your worth. but those connections cannot coexist with ones that quietly drain you. That is the spiritual law at work here. Sometimes what blocks your future is not fear, it is attachment to what once felt right. You may notice that after this separation, moments of silence begin to feel different, less heavy, more spacious. You may feel moments of unexpected clarity. Ideas return, energy shifts. This is not accidental. This is the first sign that something real is being prepared. Life Lesson, Part 2. Space is not emptiness. Space is invitation. What leaves your life makes room for what can finally meet you at your true level. God is not taking something away without intention. He is removing what no longer matches the life you are stepping into. And the reason this separation feels intense is because what is coming requires you to stand fully in your truth, not halfway, not compromised, not adjusted. Have you noticed how certain opportunities felt delayed? How certain paths seem blocked without explanation? Often, it is not fate that delays them. It is misalignment. Once the wrong connection is removed, momentum returns. This is when Leo's natural strength begins to reawaken. Not the strength that seeks approval, but the strength that knows who it is without needing validation. Comment if this resonates with you. Sometimes the universe waits for acknowledgement before revealing the next step. And in the next part, you will understand why resisting this separation creates suffering and how surrender transforms pain into clarity. Stay with me. Part 3. Why resisting this separation creates suffering. Leo, the most painful part of any divine separation is not the loss itself. It is the resistance to what is already unfolding. When God begins removing someone from your life, your first instinct may be to fight it. You try to repair what no longer responds. You revisit old conversations. You search for explanations that will justify staying. This resistance is natural. Your heart is loyal, and loyalty does not release easily. But here is a deeper truth. Pain does not come from separation. Pain comes from holding on to what is already leaving. The moment you resist a necessary ending, tension is created inside you. Your spirit moves forward while your emotions pull backward. This inner conflict is what drains you. God does not force separation to hurt you. He allows discomfort so you can recognize what no longer fits. Think of it this way. When a door is meant to close, pushing against it only bruises your hands. Stepping back allows you to see the other door that is already opening behind you. Leo, surrender does not mean weakness. Surrender is clarity. It is the moment you stop asking, "How do I fix this?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Once you stop resisting, something remarkable happens. The fog begins to lift. You start noticing patterns you couldn't see before. You understand conversations differently. You recognize how much effort you were investing just to keep balance. This clarity is not punishment. It is revelation. Life Lesson. Part 3. What you cling to past its time turns into suffering. What you release at the right moment turns into wisdom. God never asks you to surrender something without offering understanding in return. But understanding only arrives when resistance ends. You may notice that once you accept the separation, not emotionally, but spiritually, your energy begins to return. Your thoughts become clearer. Your body feels lighter. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Your life is recalibrating. This separation is not meant to break you. It is meant to free you from emotional patterns that no longer match your growth. Ask yourself honestly, were you holding on because the connection was right, or because letting go required courage? Because courage is the true initiation Leo is being called into now. Comment if this insight speaks to you. Sometimes releasing resistance begins with acknowledging it. In the next part, you will discover how this separation transforms you and who you become once the old bond no longer defines you. Stay with me. Part 4. Who you become after the separation. Leo, once the separation is accepted, something profound begins to unfold. At first, it may feel like quiet, a silence where a voice, a presence, or a routine used to be. But this silence is not emptiness. It is restoration. When someone leaves your life by divine design, the energy that was tied to maintaining that connection returns to you. And that energy carries memory. You begin to remember who you were before you started adjusting yourself, before you softened your truth, before you explained your worth. This is the phase where your identity recenters. You may notice that your creativity returns without effort. Your confidence feels calmer, not louder. Your decisions feel clearer, not rushed. This is not because the separation fixed you. It is because the separation removed what was interfering with your natural alignment. Leo, you were never meant to become smaller to be loved. You were never meant to dim your presence to keep peace. You were never meant to negotiate your essence just to maintain connection. What you are becoming now is not a stronger version of who you were, but a truer one. You begin to recognize how much of your energy was being spent managing emotional dynamics instead of living your purpose. And with that realization comes freedom. This is when your natural authority reawakens. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands respect simply by existing. People begin to respond to you differently, not because you changed your behavior, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. Life Lesson Part 4. You do not find yourself by holding on. You find yourself by releasing what no longer reflects who you are becoming. Growth does not ask for permission from the past. It simply moves forward. And once this happens, something else becomes clear. The separation was never meant to isolate you. It was meant to recalibrate your sense of self so that future connections meet you at your true level. You no longer attract relationships that require sacrifice of identity. You begin attracting connections that recognize you without explanation. This is the quiet miracle of divine separation. Comment if you feel yourself changing after letting go. Sometimes transformation is confirmed when we name it. And in the final part, you will understand the powerful reason behind this separation and how gratitude becomes the final key that completes the cycle. Stay with me. Final conclusion, the reason will become clear. Leo, there comes a moment, often quietly, unexpectedly, when everything suddenly makes sense. It does not arrive with drama. It does not announce itself loudly. It arrives as clarity. One day you look back at this separation and realize something profound. What felt like loss was actually protection. What felt like rejection was redirection. What felt like confusion was guidance unfolding in layers. The reason behind this separation was never meant to be understood immediately. If it had been, you might have resisted less, but you also would have grown less. Some truths only reveal themselves after you have changed. You begin to see how much you were carrying, how much you were tolerating, how much you were holding together alone. And in that moment, gratitude replaces grief, not because the pain wasn't real, but because the wisdom that came from it was greater. This is when you understand the real reason God took someone away from your life. Not to punish you, not to deprive you, but to return you to yourself. Final life lesson. What leaves your life by divine design is not taken from you. It is released so you can rise. Nothing meant for your highest good will ever require you to abandon your truth. As this chapter closes, something subtle but powerful happens. You stop asking why it ended, and you start honoring who you became because it did. That is when your path opens fully. Leo, trust this timing. Trust this process. Trust that what was removed made room for what truly belongs. And when the next connection enters your life, whether a person, a purpose, or an opportunity, you will recognize it immediately. Because it will not demand sacrifice of your essence. It will meet you where you stand, whole and aligned. If this message resonated with you, comment below and share what this separation has taught you. Your experience may help someone else understand their own. And if you want to continue receiving messages created specifically for your journey, subscribe to the channel and stay connected. Nothing brought you here by accident. Remember, Leo, when God removes someone from your life, it is not an ending. It is the moment your true path begins.